In today's brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters in Project Cars 2, it's the turn of a Formula 1 icon as the Lotus 49C takes on our Azure Coast hill climb course. Can this golden oldie take top spot from the Honda? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Matidio and welcome back to Project Cars 2 and a brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters. And this week, as we said, it is the turn of an absolute icon of Formula 1, the Lotus Type 49C. And the reason I've decided to do this car is purely because I haven't done a British car yet and I haven't done a single seater, so I'm killing two birds with one stone. And the other reason is this car is an absolute legend of Formula 1. Originally built as the Lotus 49 in 1967 by and designed by Colin Chapman and Maurice Philippe. And like I said, this thing won a couple of Constructors' Championships. I think it won a couple of Drivers' Championships as well. And the Lotus 49C was built because the car that Lotus originally planned to have through the 1969 season, which I think is the Lotus 63, was an absolute dog. So they got rid of it and they basically did a slight redesign of the Lotus 49 and brought out the Lotus 49C basically, and this competed for the remainder of the 69 season and also through the first 4 races, I think it was, of the 1970 season, and Jochen Rindt actually won the Monaco Grand Prix in this car as well in 1970. So like I said, it's an absolutely legendary car, and this of course was built around the absolutely epic Ford DFV Cosworth engine, which powered most of Formula 1 throughout the 70s. It was that good of an engine, and it was Colin Chapman who originally got Ford to actually come and build a Formula 1 power plant, and the Ford Cosworth DFV engine was what was produced basically, and they designed the Lotus 49 around that engine. And I think that might have been one of the first instances where they perhaps did that. Rather than, say, building a car and just plopping an engine in it, they designed the car around the engine. I could be wrong on that thing, but I think it's one of the first instances, and that's kind of what we're used to now in Formula 1. Designers building the car around the engine, not just building a car and then plopping an engine in it, just building the car around the engine to make it a better overall package. And also, this was one of the first instances with a car with proper wings on it, what we're kind of used to now. The late 60s and early 70s was basically the time when Formula 1 was starting to figure out and start to try and get their head around downforce, which if you're a motorsport fan, you know all about downforce and how it works basically now, but this is where it all began basically. And originally it started with those big wings on stilts, which were prone to failing and causing massive accidents, so they banned those, but then they said, you can bolt them to your bodywork, or you can bolt them to the chassis, which is what they've done here. And like I said, absolutely legendary car, won a couple of championships and kicked Jochen Rindt off through the 1970 season before being replaced by the Lotus 72, which eventually took him to the only posthumous Formula 1 World Championship. But in terms of the practice runs, it was challenging to say the least. I wanted a challenge, so I wasn't too surprised by it. Very understeery and also very oversteery. Corner entry is difficult, it's not very pointy. Corner exit is also very difficult. You don't want to get on the power too quickly because it'll just drag you wide. Not too bad through the middle of the corner. Also, but it is very, very nimble and very, very quick. Also, there were instances, because this course does have a few points where you can get some air, I was having to lift, because otherwise the front would just go up and that would be it. You'd be flying through the air, pointing towards the sky, and that would basically be the end of it. And it also make my steering wheel spaz out as well. So yeah, it was a challenge, but when you get it on that ragged edge, on that razor's edge between just being out of control and being absolutely in control and just going really, really fast, it feels amazing. It really does. But anyway, enough talking from me. We've had a little history lesson. You've seen a couple of my boo-boos in practice. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to take a look at the full-blooded hot lap and see how the Lotus Type 49C does. And more importantly, we're going to see if it can beat the Honda 2 and 4 concept. It's a big ask, but I don't know. Let's see. Okay then, guys, here we go. Lotus 49C on our Azure Coast hill climb course, and I'll be honest with you, this was probably the toughest lap I've ever put together, because this car is just so difficult to drive. It's not only physically taxing, because as you would imagine with it being a 70s Formula 1 car, it is quite difficult. Like I said, there's not much downforce that's going to help you get the nose into those corners, and the rear end can be very, very squirmy, as you can see here through traffic cone corner. Completely missed the apex, and like I said, if you miss the braking zone just by a couple of feet, a couple of yards, then you're not going to brake for the corner, because you almost have to preempt this car to a degree. So you'll probably, you know, like I said, I've been through this on this this lap so many times in so many different cars, and you can start to build up reference points, but all of those with this car go completely out the window. You have to turn in and brake so much earlier, and a lot of the times you're gonna want to be braking as late as you possibly can. With this, I think you don't want to brake late. You want to brake somewhat early, it would feel like, in order just to get it slowed down so you can get the nose in early. And like I said, you're turning almost, like I said, half a second or a full-blown second before you originally would. And one of the other things is you don't really see it there. You may not be able to hear it, but there's little lift. You're going to have to lift through those crests, because it will get completely out of shape from you. But one thing I will say about this car is through traffic cone corner here, one of the best I've driven. It really was. Just the slightest little lift, maybe 5% lift of the throttle, and you're back on it again, and it will just stick. But like I said, the big thing about this car, and if you are going to drive it on this course here, is you're going to have to, like I said, preempt it almost. You're going to have to start, you're going to turn in half a second or a second earlier, because if you don't, you're going to be chasing the car, and you're going to be all out of sync for the next set of corners, and it's just going to ruin your lap completely. Like I said, 3-4 corners out of sync in this car, and that's it. The lap is done, because like I said, it's so easy just to get into the mindset that this is like any other car, but it's not. You do have to think ahead of the car almost, and the corner, and of yourself almost as well. I know it sounds weird to say, but if there's people out there who've driven this car, hopefully you understand what I mean. But yeah, as we come through here, and it wasn't too bad through the high-speed corners. It was the medium corners that where it was struggling a little bit, but also especially the slow-speed corners. The Donald Trump corner, very difficult to get it slowed down and get the nose in. And you're going to see we're going to get absolutely sideways over the curbing. We were lucky we didn't clip the barrier and invalidate the lap there. But as we come through Fortitude, like I said, through the higher speed corners, it wasn't too bad. It was just the medium speed and the slower speed corners where this thing really struggles, and it's really difficult to get the nose in. But as we come now down through Silver Spoon Village, and again, through the uneven ground, it's not too bad. But if you come into a crest, if you're coming from downhill to uphill, that's where you got problems. Down through here, little lift, the nose is going to get a little bit of air, and the back is going to stay stationary, as you imagine, with most of the weight being towards the back of the car. But like I said, once you get it settled again, you could really make this thing fly, and it wasn't too bad through Fraggle Rock Corner here. I didn't take it as well as I had in previous runs on this lap, which was a little bit disappointing, but down towards Bridge Corner here, again, I was as flat as I possibly dared through there, and it felt very, very good. And again, turning in much earlier than I would be in other cars for Bridge Corner there. And like I said, that's the overall theme of this. You're going to have to turn in half a second earlier than you normally would, and get it slowed down a lot earlier. This is not the kind of run where you're going to see me braking ultra late to maybe get a tenth or two extra time in my pocket. This is something where I'm going to be braking ultra early, just so I can get it slowed down, so I can get the nose in and get back on that power nice and early. I may have said it before in previous laps, but you've got to sacrifice on the entry to reap the rewards on the exit. You know, there's no point having a really fast entry if it completely blows your exit at the corner down a main straight or something like that. So sacrifice at the entry of the corner, just get brake a little bit earlier, get the nose in a little earlier, and then reap the rewards, get the car settled on the exit, and away you go again. But like I said, just having to lift a little bit and maybe brake a little bit through these humps down the Camel Straight. And yeah, like I said, it's very, very easy just to kind of get, almost a bit of tunnel vision and just forget to lift. There was a couple of occasions on not only the Camel Straight, but also down the Pogo Stick Straight here, where I just completely forget. I'd be so, so fixated on keeping my foot to the floor that I just completely blow the lap, because the nose would just pitch straight up in the air, and that'd be the end of it. And like I said, it would just send my steering wheel completely doolally, and I'd have to restart the whole game. That's how bad it was. So yeah. And like I said, it is a really great car to drive once you find that ragged edge. Before that or after that, it's terrible, but when you're on that ragged edge, it just feels absolutely amazing. As we come now down towards the Great Ocean Highway, and coming towards the end of this second sector, as you can see, we're up now, but the second sector was the most challenging because it's got a lot of slow speed corners. That was the most challenging sector to try and get right, and there were times where I'd be coming through there and I felt like I'd be absolutely milking the hell out of this thing, and I'd be 2 or 3 seconds down on my best, and I'd be sat there like, what have I got to do? What have I got to do to get almost just on par? If I could get to the end of the second sector half a second down, I'd be relatively happy. But as you can see, we went very, very well through the second sector on this occasion. And down towards Deception, again, it wasn't too bad because this is a relatively, you know, it is a medium speed corner, but it's also quite high speed in terms of it. It's the higher end of the medium speed corners, if that makes sense. It wasn't too bad. And through sweeps, it was also wasn't too bad. This was one of the areas which was kind of challenging because, like I said, if you just get a little bit out of shape and you get a little bit too heavy into a braking zone, or you miss turning a little bit, then you're going to be chasing the car. And as you can see, you get a little bit out of shape. The back end started to step away from us, and we're going to see it again here. Do very, very well just to keep it out of the wall, just about, and continue on the lap. And there were a couple of occasions, especially through those 2 corners there, where I hit the wall on both corners and ruined the run completely. So to make it through there, I was very, very happy, and I knew we were going to be up as we come down Rocky Road, the final part of the lap. And again, just been a little bit cautious because these corners do tend to bring out the worst in a car that is understeery, especially up through here. You want to get the nose in and almost get it in a little bit too early and clip the wall there, but we just about keep it out as we come down towards the final corner. Maybe didn't need to come down to second there, and again, just to keep it out of the wall and keep the back end from stepping out. But as we come across the line, it is going to be an absolutely staggering 7 minutes 6 seconds .248, which not only makes it the fastest Hill Climb Monsters car we've had by a good, what, 6-7 seconds. In addition to that, this thing is now sitting on page 1 of the Azure Coast leaderboard, which is absolutely amazing. There's actually a car below us, some guy in a Formula X car. If he ever comes back to it, like I said, I would love to see his face, him coming back saying, I think I can go a little bit better in that Formula X car, looking at the leaderboard and seeing little old me in a near enough 50-year-old single-seater going 3 seconds faster than him. That would be an absolutely amazing sight to see. Not to be too smug, but like I said at the beginning, I was exhausted after this lap, not only physically, because it is a very heavy car and there is a lot of work. You're soaring at the wheel. I don't like to soar at the wheel, I like to be relatively smooth, but this thing, it's almost a necessity. And there were some times where I was almost trying to get the back end out just to help the front get in, if that makes sense. You know, just get a little bit of almost drift it through a corner. But like I said, very, very hard work physically, also mentally, as I said, because you've got to be thinking 1 or 2 or 3, 4 steps ahead of yourself almost just to get this car through some of those corners. But when you do, like I said, on the ragged edge, this car is absolutely superb. It really is. And like I said, it's a piece of absolutely essential motorsport history. And if you haven't driven this car in Project Cars 2, I highly suggest you do. Don't be daunted by it. It is tough to drive, don't get me wrong. It is tough to drive, but go and practice with it. And like I said, just brake early, turn in early, start thinking ahead of yourself almost, and you'll be fine. But like I said, guys, this car was absolutely amazing. And well, that's the end of today's episode, guys. And I think, you know, like I said, the third, you know, it's the leader of our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard as things stand. What can beat it? I don't know. Leave your suggestions down below. I know there are cars that are going to be a shoo-in to beat it. I could take a Formula A car around here, but am I going to have as much fun? Probably not. But yeah, like I said, guys, that is the end of today's episode. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you did enjoy and would like to see more Project Cars 2 and Hill Climb Monsters content from myself, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Especially so because next Saturday we're going to have a brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters, and it's going to be a Christmas special because I'm going to be doing something very, very stupid but also very, very fun on our Hill Climb course. And it's going to be Christmas themed to a degree. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this episode and you want to see a complete idiot do something very, very stupid on a 12-mile, 95 corner course, then make sure you do subscribe and hit that like button. But again, guys, thank you everybody so much for watching. Take care, and as always, I will catch you in the next video. Peace!